My name is Scott Grimes. I'm a Senior Director with Revenue Management at Marriott. Revenue Management is the science behind determining what the price is that shows on the website when you go through Marriott.com or the mobile channel to be able to do a search for a city on specific dates, those rates that come back, what we set those prices at. The use case that we use Neo4j at Marriott is we have a pricing application that a revenue manager on property is able to go through and maintain a pricing strategy. Be able to do things such as say, for this season, I want my rate to be this dollar value, or on a different season, call out specific if you have a group in-house or if you have other things, be able to adjust the pricing accordingly. We also have a very sophisticated concept of touch one, modify many. So there's a few fixed price points, but other types of rates index or float off of that. So a concierge access may be a certain dollar value or percentage above the regular rate. An advanced purchase discount might be a certain amount below what the regular rate is. So we go 4 levels deep with air mirroring. One of the things that we have to do is we have to take that information from a user that is maintaining seasons and rules, and we have to transform that into fixed price points for every rate that the property has set up. So this process of publishing does a lot of pre-computations and calculations, and at the end result of that, we have modified rates available for sale. At the shopping time, when a guest is actually doing a search looking for a property to stay on a specific day, that price that comes back is actually a fixed price. It's already pre-computed. So the system that we develop is how do we take rules or certain scenarios that a person on property wants to manage and transform that into fixed price points for sale. So the way we came across Neo and to find a way to be able to identify a graph database as an appropriate use case for us is kind of interesting. The use case we're using Neo for is not one of the 6 classic use cases that Neo markets itself around, like recommendations or ACL lists or networks or something like that. So it was really, we were experiencing a pain point where our publishing process for some properties was taking minutes to be able to process. We also could encounter scenarios where we could get some backlogs and things could take hours to be able to update prices. In certain scenarios, that can be an extremely problematic event, that we need to be able to update our prices quickly and in a timely fashion. One of the reasons we identified from that is from our relational database, we had many levels of keys and primary key, foreign keys through the data model. And we found ourselves in some scenarios generating up to 30,000 SQL calls to be able to process a single data structure. The graph database provided us the ability to take that relationship and make it a first-class citizen so that we could navigate the graph very quickly compared to what we were previously. And we've been able to take average processing time from over 4 minutes current before Neo's solution, and now our average response time is about 13 seconds. So some of the benefits that we saw from Neo, we definitely did the project or initiated the project to benefit the performance of the application. Some of the other things were very surprising as well. Since we implemented the application, the performance has been improved substantially, that we've actually seen a 300% growth in the volume of price changes that properties are generating. There's a qualitative factor that that the performance of an application can yield better adoption of a system, which leads to Marriott to being more price sensitive to the market and updating its pricing accordingly. The other main benefit that was a little bit of a surprise, our hardware requirements to operate the environment have been substantially reduced. With the Neo solution, we're using a order of magnitude less CPU compute in order to process the new system. And so therefore, we're able to right-size the environment and reduce our overall infrastructure cost by about 50%. So when I reflect back on our experience with Neo or looked at some of the best practices, I think we actually identified we did a number of things the correct way. It was a new technology. We had been on a traditional RDBMS solution. So we wanted to explore with using a graph database. A couple of the key architectural decisions that we made that I would repeat again if I had to do the project again. One, we implemented Neo as a cache of our RDBMS solution. So we did not retire it completely to say we're going to a full system of record with a graph database because it was somewhat unproven and we were an early adopter of the technology. So we maintained some security by having a RDBMS still as a back end to be able to provide us some comfort that we're going to be able to go forward with the solution. The other thing that we did is before we actually commenced the project, we did a 8-week proof of concept or prototype where we actually evaluated several different deployment options for how we should implement Neo. We evaluated server mode versus embedded mode. We evaluated Cypher versus direct API versus unmanaged extensions. and we were able to collaborate with the NEO support teams on the results that we saw from the prototyping that we had done to come with a recommended deployment option, and that's what we implemented. So the other technologies that's involved with the application stack for our implementation with NEO, we do have a Oracle RDBMS that is in concert, and we keep the data in sync between them so that NEO is actually implemented as a cache. If the NEO data was to get corrupted or lost, we could actually refresh all of the data from NEO from our RDBMS. So we do have the security that we still have that information stored in a database that we've had for many years within Marriott. The other key components that we had to do is our pricing for our hotels is we have about 4,500 properties within the chain, and each property has its own pricing strategy or its pricing structure. So our use case is we actually have about 4,500 independent graphs that don't have relationships with each other. In order to realize performance, we wanted to make sure that we had as much data as we could in the memory. So we actually created multiple clusters and divided the properties into thirds across the 3 different clusters. So we had to write our own custom sharding or partitioning component to be able to have the knowledge of what property is on what cluster so that when an event happens, we can route it to the right location where the data is located to be able to be processed. That was one of the key architectural things that we had to implement to go coincide with the NEO solution. That was a custom solution to be able to handle that. So I think one of the benefits that Marriott got from being an early adopter of Neo4j is it gives us, now that we have a technology in-house that is somewhat proven, and we were on the early adopter scale. We started this project about 2 years ago. So at this point, we have a proven technology that we have now have an opportunity to go through and explore. Are there other use cases or other scenarios that we can look to use NEO to connect our data and realize value from that, and not have the anxiety that it's bringing a new technology in-house and that another project would incur that risk. We've done that in our use case, and now we can look for other opportunities within Marriott where we could leverage where a graph database would make sense.